All right, good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday, June the 25th, 2025. Welcome back, council and staff. Special greetings to those that are joining us in the council chamber tonight. Your presence is greatly appreciated. I would respectfully ask those present to please ensure that your communication devices are either shut off or placed on vibrate. Those that are joining us virtually, thank you for spending your evening with us. This past Saturday, on the 21st, we paused and recognized National Indigenous Peoples Day across Canada. This is a day of reckoning and celebrating the cultures and contributions of the First Nations, Inuit, Métis, Indigenous people of Canada. This meeting will be streamed live and recorded for public viewing on the town's YouTube page. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, the Ottawa, Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishinaabe. It is through the connection of the Anishinaabe with the spirit of the land, the water, and the air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together, as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all of life, protecting the future for those generations to come. Well, this evening, we have a very special presentation to make. In Ontario, every June, we take the time to celebrate Seniors Month. Tonight, we pause to recognize our 2025 honoree. But before we do, I'm very pleased to acknowledge two previous recipients of the Senior of the Year who have joined with us tonight. They are Mr. Jack Sterling and Mr. Gord McKenzie, and I'd ask them both to rise and maybe we can show our appreciation for the recognition and the work that they've done over the years. Many of you will recall last year in 2024, Council nominated Sue Wright for the Senior of the Year, which was presented to Ms. Wright almost 1 year ago today. Later in the year, Council then nominated Ms. Wright for the Senior Achievement Award. She was one of the few selected for the whole province, as there are only 20 individuals recognized each year. Ms. Wright had been notified and invited to a ceremony at Queen's Park to receive her award. That ceremony took place earlier this afternoon today. Now, most of us here in the room are very familiar with Ms. Wright, and I encourage each of you, the next time you see her, be sure to congratulate Sue on this special recognition merit. Now, tonight we gather to honor and recognize Mr. Adrian Verwegen as the Senior of the Year for 2025. This award acknowledges Adrian's tireless efforts that he puts forth on all the work that he does within our community. His positive influence is contagious in all that he does. He's a longstanding member of our active and inactive cemeteries for the town. Just a few weeks back, we held our annual Decoration Day at the cemetery to pay our respect and honor those who have gone before us. Adrian was the MC for the service, conducted it with dignity and respect. Now, I do have to share one short story with you. Adrian and I were golfing together in a community south of here. We were waiting for the foursome ahead of us to move ahead at one hole. All of a sudden, Adrian disappears. It was time to hit, and no Adrian. Now, apparently between the roadway and the greens, there was an abandoned cemetery. And guess who spotted it and had to go and investigate and held up our golf game? Only Adrian. Now, for the rest of the day, I got one of the best history lessons one could ever receive. I learned about the cemeteries in Plympton-Wyoming, who was buried where and who was related to who and to who was it. I later realized this man was a devoted historian with a passion for his family, his heritage, and great pride in his community. He readily shares that passion with those around him. If we were smart, we would listen to him, for it's how those of the future will know and be able to appreciate the past. Most importantly, what we are so fortunate to have in this great community we live in. Adrian is a charter member of the Huron Shores Optimist Club in Kamlaki. Not being one to just have his name on the wall, Adrian is known for being one of the first to dig in and take part in all the club's activities. He leads by example, and he continues to be a role model to many members day in and day out. Adrian, on behalf of the town of Plympton-Wyoming and your council, I'm very pleased and honored to be able to present you with a certificate from the Honorable Ray Choi, Minister for Seniors and Accessibility, as well as her honor and the Honorable Edith Dumont, the Lieutenant Governor of the Province of Ontario, and myself, in recognition of your outstanding contributions that strengthen and makes our community a better place to live. Adrian, would you please join me up here? Ladies and gentlemen, let's our Senior of the Year. Adrian, this is the certificate for you. Very pleased to be able to present it to you. Well, I also have a certificate from the municipality recognizing you for your contributions as well. Thank you again. And letter for you. Letter. Beautiful. Thank you. So I guess if anybody would like to take a picture, now would be the time to hold that down there.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Family members, you're certainly welcome to come up, take a picture if you'd like.
Yeah. Come on up, Minnie.
John? Join us too?
Yeah, get up here, Johnny. Come on, Brad. Come on up here, Johnny.
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Ready.
Thank you.
All righty.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. All right. We'll talk. Do I get a chance to say a few words?
You sure do. But
All right.
I'd like to have council.
Abby.
Council, if you want to come around and we'll need Adrian.
Thank you. All righty. I don't want to take a lot of your time. I know you got a busy evening.
Hang on, I got council coming up to congratulate you.
Oh, goodness, thank you. All righty. Thank you. See you, Abby.
So young.
Yeah. Thank you for Alex. Thank you.
I usually.
Oh, another picture. Council. Okay, good. Where's my?
Reason.
Like you like.
1, 2, 3. Better than the last picture.
She hasn't got her double flags on.
All righty. So, before I thank everybody, I just want to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that I am in fact a senior. And I can do that a couple of ways. I'd like to do that a couple of ways. And one way is I'm golfing on Monday with a group of 20 guys at Sand Hills Golf Club with the Gold Hawk Golf Tour. And the oldest guy in that group now is me. Ever since Jack left over there and someone else left, they left the oldest senior position to me. So I'm stuck with it for the time being. That's one thing. The second thing I want to leave you with is to prove that I'm a senior is when I first went to school in Plympton, it was at SS number 13, one-room school, brick structure. That was at that time right beside the current Kamlaki golf course. I want to tell you a few things about going to school in grade 1 and 2.
Let me go get a chair.
All right. Just digging the donger when you're done. Anyway, so here we lived on a farm outside of Kamlaki in the Kamlaki golf course, and we walked to school. You know, 5 years old it was. And we walked to the one-room school. The one-room school had grades 1 to 8 and one teacher, Mrs. Carruthers from Kamlaki. Mrs. Carruthers' husband was Ken Carruthers. He was a barber in Kamalaki or nearby. That one-room school had no plumbing inside, right? No water at all. So you had to go to the can, the two-holer in that corner or that corner of the schoolyard, depending if you were a guy or a girl. Now, if you needed to do that, you needed to get teacher's permission. So you put up your arm. And you'd either put up one finger or two, depending on what kind of business you were going to conduct. If you were thirsty in that one-room school, there was no water in there. You had to get a little pointed Dixie cup and go outside of the school to the pump water out of that well and put the Dixie cup on it, and that was your drink of water. In the wintertime, they heated that school with a wood-burning furnace that was at the back of the inside the one-room frame or one-room structure. And a real treat was for us to bring an uncooked potato from home and set it on the wood-fired furnace, and at noon it'd be cooked. You'd have a warm baked potato to eat at noon. Yeah, so those were some of the stories of my first experience with school in Plympton. That was SS number 13. I think at one time there was up to 18 of those one-room schools in Plympton, spread all over the place. 18 of them. That's a big number. Anyway, I want to thank the my golf guys that are back there. They're coming up to, we'll see you guys Monday, except Jack, unless you show up, Jack. I hope you do. I want to thank council. I want to thank Deputy Mayor. And I want to thank Mayor Gary for that. I don't know how I got here, but I'm thankful. I'm honored. I'm pink. What can I say? Thank you again. You were gonna stop. Thanks again, Mayor. We'll get together. You give me an email. I'll bring Jack over. I'll be down for a few days, so. Stop. Thank you for that. Yes, I appreciate that.
Yeah, well.
Folks. You all right, Lonnie?
Catch you online.
How that was. We want to patrol you. Got any room over there?
Council, let's go to, excuse me, item number 4. Declaration of pecuniary interest. If you have a pecuniary interest, please disclose it at the appropriate time. Number 5, delegations. Deputy Clerk, do you have anything that's been added since this was printed?
We don't.
Thank you. Item 6, business arising from previous meetings. I see nothing listed, nothing's been added. All right. Let's go to 7.1, Council. I have a motion by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Councillor Wolvett, that the minutes be adopted by council as confidential minutes of the closed sessions. Council remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. It would be our regular council meeting minutes of June the 11th, 2025. McCall O'Donnell reconsideration meeting minutes of May 28th, 2025. The Annette Drain reconsideration meeting minutes of May the 28th, 2025. Council, you've had an opportunity to review them. Any questions? Call for the vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Okay, 7.2. A motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren. That the minutes be adopted by council and those confidential minutes of the closed sessions remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. That would be the Fire Executive Committee meeting minutes of May the 5th. The McDonald Giltley and McDonald Drains Court of Revision meeting minutes of May the 28th. And the Kernahan O'Donnell Drain Court of Revision meeting minutes, May the 28th. They're all 2025. Had a chance to review them. Council, any questions? All those in favor? It's carried. Okay, 7.3, councilors' reports. Deputy?
Yes, would you like to start, Mr. Belgian?
Sure. It's another meeting, so it's another shout out to our events committee. They put on another fantastic event. Lucky on a weekend. I was unable to attend it, but I know some folks around this table were there, including a famous photo in the newspaper. So the shout out to the events committee. It was another great event by them. A lot of hard work.
Was really good. Lots of activities for the kids, even big kids. And yeah. Looked like everybody was enjoying themselves. That's Ms. Robbie.
I just have a question. Did that bowl actually move?
Yes, ma'am. I have
I'm sure if it was just a prop or.
video. Adam just saw it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
The bowl was moving.
53 seconds, too.
52.
Good, wow.
Wow, good job.
Mr. Wilbur.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I thought you had the important stuff on it. Go ahead.
I participated in the first, my first Conservation Ontario meeting on Monday. Not a lot, anything special to report, about kind of standard stuff. There was a lot of talk on the Bill 5. The conservation, as per the court mandate, is restricted only to area of erosion hazards and their part cooperation with the water source protection. So as we know, the legislation has whipped through. And
Good word.
so it's kind of weird the way they do things in the province. It's like we're gonna say we're gonna set a speed limit on the road, but so we pass a law to say we're gonna set a speed limit, and afterwards we discuss the details of what that speed limit will be. It's strange. So with Bill 5, all those details now have to be worked out, the language and everything. So all these organizations are trying to quickly get their input in on how those details should read, and that's where the Conservation Authority comes in when it comes to water source protection, and that it doesn't end up getting exempt in some of these language that they'll have. That was it for
An
me.
improvement.
Oh, and pardon?
That's an improvement.
Well, all you can do is put your input in what they decide to do.
That's good.
And then obviously some provincial cabinet members are now going to decide what species are at risk in Ontario, so.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I think the Conservation Authority board, we are doing our annual bus trip.
We didn't get invited again this year.
Sorry to hear that. They didn't even know to give us the details to the last minute where they're even going, which I'm still not even sure where we're going. Somewhere around Strathroy, Crumpet's Farm or something. Crump.
Right on the highway, yep.
And then a conservation area in there, can't remember the name. And then back for lunch in our meeting.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it. I'll give you the details of all the fun next.
Yeah, sure. You'll get it second hand. I guess we have to settle for that. Thank you. Mr. Willett.
Well, I'm just extremely disappointed we didn't get invited on that bus trip.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
We used
quite
to.
upset. I think I missed it on my calendar. I think it actually was on there.
You guys even allowed to?
I don't have anything.
You guys even allowed to go?
Yeah.
We were usually invited all the
It
time.
was for
I had no,
politicians.
yeah, well,
It wasn't,
they didn't tell us, you can.
You would think the vice chair of the Conservation Authority Board would let her council know, wouldn't you?
yeah.
Since it is for
On that,
politicians.
it's her purview.
Yeah, oh, well, next year. I don't have any.
That's all you have? Good input, though,
Thank you.
Mr. Van Claveren.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Aside from the many drainage projects, I don't have a lot more to report.
You do, you're
But
busy this.
There's, you'll see some on our agenda tonight, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. A couple things to share with you. First of all, the Canada Day celebration, if I may add to it, I want to thank the councillors that attended and supported the Special Events Committee. We only echo Councillor Bojan's comment that the committee did a great job. Mother Nature wasn't as cooperative as we would like, but the people did come out and supported it, and that was good. I had the opportunity to attend the reconfirmation of the Huron Shores bus line that will be now stopping in Wyoming with Minister Lisa Thompson, the Minister of Rural Affairs, as well as MPP Steve Pinsino and Mayor Cook. We had a good meeting with the Plympton-Wyoming Recreation Project. It's probably will be meeting in the fall. The information has gone back to the Huron Shores Optimists to get their input as well as some other community-minded people. And I had the opportunity to attend the SLEP AGM yesterday. Presentation was made by Ontario Power Corporation about the out of power in electrical energy is going to be needed to the province to 2050. But we talked about the different reactors and the different ways that we're going to create hydro to for the province. So it's very informative, a bit out of it. So that's good. And I want to congratulate you, Deputy Mayor, on writing a bull for the length of time that you did. That was very admirable. Probably would be in the hospital by now. So that's congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
How about you? What do you get? What do you?
Yeah, well, I did ride that bull, and the next day I felt a lot better than I have in the past couple of weeks, but then the second day, I think it started seizing up again. However, it was worth it.
You know, the Calgary Stampede is coming.
Yeah. This bull was much gentler. The museum, they had a nice meeting and showed us a movie on the SS Noronic flagship of the Canada steamship lines, which burned in the Toronto Harbor in 1949. It was long before my time, of course. But anyway, it was really interesting to see, you know, some of this local, not local, but at least Canadian history. So, and I guess that's about, oh, that day that the Canada Day event was the busiest attendance day at the museum of the whole year. Yeah, lots of people, donations, so that's great, but that's about it.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Okay, council, let's go to item 8 on the agenda. We have a motion by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren, that the council enumeration claims for May 2025 be approved for payment. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, let's go to item 9.1. Staff reports. Motion by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that the report submitted by Will Davidson, Director of Emergency Services, Fire Chief, dated June the 10th, 2025, regarding the Plympton-Wyoming Fire Department first quarter report be received for informational purposes. We have Chief Davidson with us. This report has already gone to the fire executive and was very well received there. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
A lot of reading.
Carried. It's a good report, Chief. Thank you. Okay, well, let's get into the drainage world. 9.2, I have a motion by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that the report by Ryan Tamming, Drainage Coordinator dated June the 9th, 2025, regarding a request for drain improvement for the Jackson Drain be received, and the council appoints R. Dobbin Engineering Incorporated under section 78 of the Drainage Act to produce a report based on the improvement request received June the 6th, 2025. Mr. Tamian is with us today. If there's any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Okay, 9.3, motion by Councillor Olvet, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren, that the report prepared by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated June the 19th, 2025, regarding the purchase of a 25-ton float trailer be received, and that council approves the quote submitted by Lodestar Trailers Incorporated to purchase a 2026 Lodestar trailer cost of $61,248.53 net HST. Is there any questions on the motion? None, all those in favor? It's carried. In 9.4, moved by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Councillor Wolvet. Report by Elizabeth Cummings, Drainage and Engineering Coordinator, dated June the 19th, 2025, regarding summary of requests for drain maintenance between May the 1st, 2025, and June the 19th, 2025, be received for information and filed accordingly. Questions? All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, 10.1, bylaws. Moved by Councillor Rodriguez and seconded by Councillor Bojan. The bylaw 37 of 2025 for the Kernahan O'Donnell Drain, section 76, being a bylaw to provide for the drainage works in the town of Plympton-Wyoming, the county of Lambton, be taken as having been read a third and final time and passed on this 25th day of June 2025. Mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Questions? All those in favor? Carried. (10.2), moved by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Bojan. That bylaw 38 of 2025 for the McDonald, Giltley, and McDonald drains be taken as having, but being a bylaw to provide for the drainage works in the town of Plympton, Wyoming, the county of Lambton, be taken as having been read a third time, finally passed on this 25th day of June 2025, and the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All those in favor? That's carried. (10.3), moved by Councillor Bogan, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez. That bylaw 62 of 2025, being a bylaw to appoint a drainage superintendent in the town of Plympton, Wyoming, be taken as having been read three times, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All those in favor? It's carried.
They were yes.
All right, item 11.1, moved by Councillor Wolvet, seconded by Councillor Bojan. Correspondence suggests the following motion: that the correspondence submitted by the Royal Canadian Legion received, and that the Royal Canadian Legion's attendance at an event on Saturday, August 16th, be declared as a municipally significant event in accordance with the regulation for a special occasion permit by the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. Questions? All those in favor? Carried. Correspondence. Recommended reading and routine approval and information items. Moved by Counselor Wolvett, seconded by Counselor Rodriguez. That the correspondence items A to F relating to recommended reading and routine approval and information items be noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly. Council, that's A to F. I'm going to begin on my left. Counselor Wolvett, anything for you?
Yes, I'd like A. Now, can either just read it or whatever, but I was certainly impressed. The Warden's Caucus that spelled this out pretty clear. The opinions of a lot of municipalities come out pretty clear there, that not enough time to even debate it or deal with it. So I think I'd like that one to come out. No, it's not asking, what's it asking for? Dialogue. Yeah, anyway, support it. I think it's
You'd like to have it pulled out for our support tour.
absolutely, yes, yep. And that's all I have.
All right. Paperwork?
Yeah.
All right, Counselor Van Claver, anything from you?
Nothing specifically for me, Mr. Mayor, except they're all worth a good read. I don't need to put on things this way.
Okay. Deputy? Counselor Rodriguez?
Thank you. I second, Counselor Wolvett. I am saying.
All right. So we're gonna pull A out and we're gonna have a motion by Counselor Wolvett, seconded by Counselor Rodriguez. Is that correct? Mr. So,
Your worship, if council's agreeable, I think it would be a good idea to support item E. So essentially, come the end of the year, municipalities are out of the recycling game. However, so that changes to full producer responsibility when it comes to collection, but that is limited to residential collection only, leaving industrial, commercial, and institutional establishments out in the cold, essentially, either looking to get their own collection contracts on their own. So I think that would be a worthwhile cause to support if council is agreeable.
yes.
I guess I'm a little bit confused on that because the majority of industry uses third party for recycling. So I guess I'm not understanding. They do it anyway, is what I'm saying.
Mr. Silver?
I mean, a lot of our places have roadside collection. A lot of our businesses, they pay the municipality to take care of that for them. So now they would be left on their own.
Yes, and I know that that exists in Sarnia as well, that we pay into the system, we can also put it out, but the majority don't do it. I don't know. Just because we can't put out the regular waste, that's not included for commercial. So it just gets included with, I don't know, but anyway, I'll support it, I'm just saying.
So Mr. De Silva, you'd like to recommend that we pull E out as well?
I do recommend that.
And what else do you support it?
Like the commercial institutional pickup to our current stream is widespread. And in Wyoming, the vast majority of the businesses do use our stream. So especially the smaller local businesses in downtown core would be adversely affected by this. Because either they would have to find an agreement to store a bin somewhere, or they would have to negotiate a new agreement with the town to collect the garbage, because we wouldn't be able to collect it through our processes.
So if I may, so does that mean they come off like the billing system because it's no longer there? Is that the concern too? There'll be so they won't pay into the system anymore, even if they're a part of it.
They wouldn't be able to pay into the system in its current way because it would no longer be spread out. Standard waste would likely not change because this is just involve recycling. But they would not be able to we would not be able to collect the recycling as we do now because we aren't collecting recycling. So there would have to be alternative arrangements be made. Either we would pay the province would bill us for that recycling, but then we'd have to bill for property owners, would be a completely new recycling program. It would not be in the same form as it is today in our current budget.
So going back, I have a motion by Councillor Wilbett, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez, both the items and to pull all the items A to F except items A. And if I get a mover and a seconder for Mr. De Silva's suggestion, it will be E added as well. Are both of you comfortable with that? Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder for Mr. De Silva's recommendation. Councillor Rodriguez? Seconder? Councillor Bojan? Okay, so I deal with the first one. So it's gonna be, I'll reread it again. Moved by Councillor Wilbett, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez, that correspondence items A to F relating to recommended reading and routine approval and information items be noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly, except items A and E. All those in favor? Carried. First one I have moved by Councillor Wilbett, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez. The council supports correspondence item A from the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, reaffirmation of the WOWC position on strong mayor powers. Is clear on that? All those in favor? Carried. And the second one, moved by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Bojan, that council supports correspondence item E. The municipality of Tweed regarding the blue blocks, residual waste. All those in favor? Carried. All right, new business. Councillor Bojan, anything for you?
For me, thank you.
Councillor Rodriguez?
Yes, thank you. Two items. One, the water main repair that was done at Lake Shore and Blue Point Drive. Or Harris Point Drive, sorry. Are they coming back?
Mr. Silva?
Through your worship, yes, I have had a discussion with them about that repair. Without getting into too many details, I do have, because we have a roads budget surplus at the moment. We do have some ideas in the works about doing some additional work. One of those roads might be Harris Point Drive. It'll come back to council for your approval at a future date. So it might be a case of them providing us with a little bit of money to do it ourselves. So I don't have a date for that or like how it's going to happen, but it will happen.
Okay, well, that's good to hear, because that Harris Point Drive is in pretty bad shape, but they should be providing funds since some damage was done, so it's just it is kind of crumbling there and it's potholes, but also on the grass area where the digging was done. There was some debris left there. It's unlevel, clumpy, like it's just gonna be a mess when the weeds grow in and stuff. Are they waiting for whatever you're working out to clean that up? Or are they just waiting to make sure the repair held, or?
Mr. De Silva?
Through your worship, they mostly wait just to let it settle before they do the final restoration. So they do plan on coming back and fixing it.
Thank you. My second item, I was a little disappointed. I had expressed some interest in a reconsideration on an item on our previous council meeting regarding the bridges and doing the environmental assessment. An item or an option was not discussed that I had thought of soon after that meeting and expressed that, maybe the better option would be to do reconsideration so all the council could participate. So it was disappointing that, it went with speed to public notice on those bridges, knowing that there was some concern, some warrant for a reconsideration on that matter. And I'm a little bit frustrated because I'm failing to understand why that wasn't given some consideration and space. And I'm wondering if maybe it goes back to Councillor Wovet's question at a previous council meeting, how come we're getting notices now on the mayoral sign off on previous council meetings, why we're getting all those emails? And I remember the answer being because it allows the process to move ahead quicker without waiting for all those timelines of maybe you want to override something or we want to override something. Allow the process to move faster. But in saying that, does it also take away the ability for any reconsiderations in the? So that's what I'd like some clarification on.
Silva?
Yep, through your worship. With respect, I only acted under the direction of council. Council Rodriguez did reach out to me and did suggest another option, but I had a motion that I acted upon. That notice was, we already had it drafted and ready to go. It's been 2 weeks since that was passed, so I'm not really sure what to say besides the fact that I acted on council's direction.
I agree, you acted on council's direction, but you were quickly informed that, you know, there was a want for a reconsideration. And I don't understand why that's not given space. I mean, are all decisions final and we have no longer have that process of reconsideration? I didn't ask 2 weeks later. So in all fairness, I'm just disappointed in that.
Without going too far into the discussion that had occurred, I was updated on the circumstances. And I do believe we did talk about the possibility of not following an EA process and just surplusing the land. And then through the discussions, we ended up following the recommendation. So that had been discussed. And not all of council are going to be happy with every decision that council as a whole makes, but staff have to move forward with the direction of council as a whole. Under the Municipal Act, council as the whole is the authority over directions, and we do need to move forward on that. And we thought that that topic had been contemplated. We move forward as the direction of council and whole recommended. If council wanted to pass a reconsideration motion, it's just a notice. It doesn't mean that notice can't be withdrawn. But we take direction from council as a whole, not from council as the individual.
Correct. And I would completely agree with you on that. That's why it was brought up for reconsideration for council as a whole. Whether it changed the outcome had really no bearing on just opening back discussion. It wasn't a matter of a wish to change direction at all. It was a wish to discuss something that hadn't been discussed. And that was all. So, thank you.
Councilor Bojan?
Yeah, I don't remember a surplus being talked about. I might have to rewatch the meeting. I guess my question then is the consultation started, but I'm assuming has everything else been signed, paid for?
Your worship, nothing's been paid for. We've just published a notice of study commencement, which goes out to all the affected landowners and approval agencies to get their public feedback, to get their consultation. Engineering studies have not been completed. We haven't paid a dollar.
You may clarify. This is less about wanting to reopen a topic than it is about, is this the way it's going to be in the future and what's driving that? When council makes a decision, we move forward. And if somebody expresses that they intend to want a reconsideration on anything, is that no longer going to happen? Because that's kind of what you're saying.
This has the opportunity to change direction. But we also have to continue with the operations of the municipality.
I
Because
get
if the
that.
reconsideration were to occur 2 weeks after a meeting, a month after a meeting, but how long do we wait? Because people have changed their minds. And we have to move forward on the operations of the town.
Again, I don't want my words defined. It's not a counselor changing their mind. It's a counselor asking for a discussion to be reopened. So I want to be clear on that. And no matter what the topic is, we've done it in the past on this council, whether it was 2 weeks later or a month later for different subjects. I guess I'm trying to understand, are you no longer of that opinion that reconsideration should ever happen in the future? Based on what you're telling me today?
Reconsiderations can always happen,
Thank you.
but when council has provided direction, we follow that direction. A reconsideration can happen at any time during an open council meeting, and there is a process for reconsideration. And the municipal act, we follow the direction of council as a whole, direction was provided.
Thank you.
The mayor? Anything new?
Oh, I just sort of got lost there, but no, I have nothing.
Mr. Van Cleven?
For me, sir. Thank you.
Councilor Woolbeck?
I agree with Councilor Rodriguez, that reconsideration can be brought up at any time. Some of these things do happen pretty quickly. Now, I do recall the discussion. I mean, I'm a senior too. I don't recall everything, but I do recall the discussion in the end, which I think convinced the council that to go ahead with this, with the full engineering report. And that was, it didn't matter whether we passed the first part, or even to surplus, we would have had to go through the same thing or tear the bridge down. We would have had to go through the exact same thing. And I do believe that's what influenced the council to vote, let's go ahead and spend the $20,000. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the way I read it. There was some negativity on even doing it, even for myself and others. But then when it got to that point, we're gonna have to do it anyways. That's when the majority said, well, we're just wasting our time, but in support of Councilor Rodriguez, I mean, reconsideration, I believe, can be taken up at any time. Now, maybe under the strong mayor powers, he can veto it too. I don't change it so fast, I can't keep up with it, but then maybe the council can veto it after that. So I don't know, but that's the way I recall it. So but you know, if they wanted the reconsideration, I think she could make one right today, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, and to be clear, reconsideration can be voted upon by council at any point in
At
time.
any point, yeah.
Yep.
Anything further?
Maybe I'm just trying to fully understand that concept too. So is that something you'd like to pursue, Councilor Rodriguez, as a reconsideration at this point? Or if it doesn't happen in a certain window, then because the ball has already been rolling and certain actions have taken place, but if it can be done at any time, what's stopping us from doing it right now?
Yes, because the ball has already been rolling. Even though it was addressed that there was a want to have a reconsideration. And I think out of respect for that process, I think that ball rolling would slow down to allow that process to happen. That's the crux of what I'm not happy about. So I think every council should be given that leeway and that respect. If there's something they feel is important or valid in any item on the agenda, to allow that process that council voted on to maybe slow down if there was a want, because that's what we're all sitting here for. And that's what the process is there for. And I just think that that should be given respect. That's all. Is more to the point. Obviously, no point in reconsidering this now because that part of it wasn't.
Only public notice has been issued at this time. No contracts have been well, I don't know if the contracts have been signed, but no work has been done to date, is my understanding.
It's an interesting point because we're not often accused of acting too quickly.
I would agree.
Always the other way around. So it's just kind of the way it's turned out, that they're too efficient. And it just things kind of happened, and I'm sure a lot of things are often primed and ready to get rolling, and in this case, it happened, and but there is wisdom, if there's anything I've learned sitting in this chambers, is that as much as we like efficiency and speed, there is wisdom in having things turn slowly so that it's right, it's correct, it's accurate. And just trying to find that balance, right? That's all for me, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Bowman?
Just a clarification, did I hear correctly that Councilor Rodriguez, that you had actually called in well ahead of that 2 weeks that
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking about? So maybe, I'm just thinking out loud, maybe that should have slowed things down right there to say, hey, you know, there's, everybody's not happy, maybe a reconsideration. Let's address it at the next meeting, rather than just, don't get me wrong, you moved ahead in what you were, the decision that was made here, so, you know, not against it, but maybe when something like that happens, when you go home and you say like, I want to get that reconsidered, there needs to be more discussion, and you call in immediately. Maybe shouldn't be allowed just to move on ahead. Maybe should be slowed down at that point, so. I don't know, it's just an opinion, but I think it makes sense, you know. Especially if there's more than one person, you know, concerned. I don't know, there is or there isn't, but maybe in the future, if this call comes in, maybe it maybe just slowed down and brought up again, or somehow messages sent it, somehow find out where we stand, so.
And maybe a suggestion, maybe let the mayor know what you'd want to.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
right.
That
Maybe
may-
I'll just call you.
That may help. No, give them proper chance, but let the mayor know as well.
And if I misconstrued, was the discussion that you intended to request a reconsideration motion, or were you asking questions that you were considering a reconsideration motion?
Both were mentioned.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, we have 7 minutes before drainage meetings. So at this time, council, you have 5 minutes for a break, personal break, and I'm asking you to be back in your chair. If memory serves me correct, all councilors except Councilor Rodriguez are required drainage meetings. Steve, is that correct, Councilor?
The first 2 meetings, quarter revisions.
Yes.
Be excused for those, and then the final consideration meeting, we might get back.
All right, for those that are with us at home, we'll be back live here in 7 minutes and for drainage meetings.
Okay, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being here at this drainage meeting. It's a nice intimate little bunch here tonight, so we appreciate those in chambers, and if you're following us online, welcome to you as well. This is a formal meeting, and as the chair, I'm John Van Claveren, and this is a formal meeting subject to the standard rules of decorum. Please set phones on vibrate or turn off, please. We endeavor to always show respect and kindly expect the same in return. A quick reminder, if you have a helpful comment or a question, we kindly ask you to raise your hand, announce and introduce who you are, and please note that there is a sensitive microphone in the ceiling that pick up anything that you say if there's any side conversations. So at this time, we can go to our first drainage meeting, which is the quarter revision for the Annett drain. At this time, I'll ask for, if you have a pecuniary interest or conflict of interest on this drain, that you excuse yourself at this point. The purpose of the quarter revision is to hear appeals from landowners regarding the schedule of assessment only, set out in the engineer's report dated April 25th, 2025 for the Annett drain. The Court of Revision has no authority to change the engineer's report in any way. Scheduled assessment may be altered, but the total must remain the same. If one assessment is reduced, then the other assessments must be increased to balance. Allow me to introduce the members of the court and staff present. Our Mayor Gary Atkinson, our Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, Councilors Alex Bojan, Bob Wolvette, drainage coordinators, Elizabeth Cummings, and our new appointee is Ryan Tamming, drainage clerk Jessica Wilson, Director of Public Works Paul De Silva, and our deputy clerk Diane Gould Brown is also here. CEO Adam Sabansky, and the engineer on our project is Mr. Josh Warner from our Dobbin Engineering Incorporated. And I'll turn the floor over to Warner to explain itself.
Perfect. Thank you. Through the chair, I'll give a brief overview of the assessments, then make myself available for any comments or questions. So as per section 26 of the Drainage Act, the utilities and roads have been assessed any increased cost by the existence of their works as a special benefit assessment. The tile drain on the property with rule number 10-521 has been assessed with 5% of the cost applied as a benefit assessment, 10% to the abutting road as a benefit assessment, and the remainder to upstream lands and roads based on equivalent hectares. The remainder of the drainage works has been assessed with 30% of the cost applied as a benefit assessment, 30% to the abutting road as a benefit assessment, and the remainder as an outlet assessment to upstream lands and roads based on equivalent hectares. I have not received any verbal or written appeals. At this time, I'm available for any comments or questions.
Any questions from the floor on the Annett drain assessment? Anyone on council have a question for Mr. Warner? Jessica, have we had any questions emailed in or sent in at this point, or any comments? Is there anybody online for this one? All right, well, I do have a motion in front of me that has been moved by Councillor Bob Wolvette and seconded by Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, that the court confirms the assessment schedules on the Annett drain as contained in the engineer's report dated April 25th, 2025. All in favor? Carried. Motion moved by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Bob Wolvette, that the quarter revision meeting for the Annett drain be adjourned. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, so the next meeting, which is the Call O'Donnell quarter revision meeting, is scheduled for 6:10. So we just have a few minutes here to make sure there's not somebody coming yet for that, so we'll just hold off on that just for a few minutes. Yeah. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and get started on the second drain meeting, which is the quarter revision for the McCall O'Donnell drain. At this point, if there's any declarations of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest, now's the time to declare that. Seeing none, the purpose of the quarter revision is to hear appeals from landowners regarding the schedule of assessment only, as set out in the engineer's report dated May 2nd, 2025 for the McCall O'Donnell drain. The quarter revision has no authority to change the engineer's report in any way. The schedule of assessment may be altered, but the total must remain the same. If one assessment is reduced, then the other assessments must be increased to balance. Allow me to introduce the members of the court and staff. I'm John Van Claveren, the chair, our Mayor Gary Atkinson, Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, Councillors Bob Wolvette and Alex Bojan. Our drainage coordinators, Ryan Tamming, and Elizabeth Cummings. Drainage clerk is Jessica Wilson. Director of Public Works, Paul De Silva. Our CEO, Adam Sabansky, and our deputy clerk, Diane Gould Brown. The engineer on this project is Mr. Josh Warner. We just heard him speak, and we're glad to have him here to speak to this too. The floor is yours, Mr. Warner.
Thank you. Again, I'll go through the assessment rationale and then make myself available for any questions or comments. As per section 26 of the Drainage Act, the utilities and roads have been assessed any increase caused by the existence of their works as a special benefit assessment. The enclosure of the drain on the property with roll number 330-246 has been assessed as a special benefit assessment to the requesting property. The remainder of the drainage works has been assessed with 40% of the cost applied as a benefit assessment, and the remainder is an outlet assessment to upstream lands and roads based on equivalent hectares. At this time, I'm available for any questions or comments.
Any questions from floor for Mr. Warner? Any questions on council? Straight. Yes, Councilor Wilbett.
My question is on the Buchanan Cemetery. And the trustees of school. On the Buchanan Cemetery, who's paying that fee? Town?
Get how that works. Is it, if it's an operational church, they pay, I believe, and if it's unoperational, then it gets assessed to the town.
So like that's a closed cemetery, right? Inactive,
Is it? Okay,
I believe so.
yeah.
Mr. Chair, that would be the town then that would handle.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, and of course, I'm chair of that committee, and I'm wondering, have you seen anything applied to our budget ever on drainage?
Yeah, so the way it works through the report is we assess the properties, and then when it comes to final billing, then the town looks after who actually pays. And there is an item, whether the cemetery or church is an active cemetery or church, who pays those costs. It goes directly to the town or to the church or cemetery.
This guy had a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's time to bill, I will essentially like invoice the town and then the treasurer splits it up. So like parks get invoiced, cemetery, roads.
I guess the reason I'm asking, we don't have anything in our budget to pay any drainage, so we're gonna have to borrow it from the town. And I guess the same questions for the trustees of school. Who is that?
Yeah, through the chair, I wouldn't know in terms of who that, not sure.
Kind of a broad trustees of. And there'll be Plympton County Board of Education, Jessica, maybe.
I would have to look up the roll number and see who's.
Okay, that's fine. It was just, I've never seen that before, that's all. Inactive cemetery. I didn't.
Mr. Sabansky.
If I could answer the question in regard, or the statement in regards to the fees that will be owned by the inactive cemeteries. It is practice with any departmental budget if an unknown expense occurs during the year, which puts that department into a deficit position, that it is at council's discretion to use annual surplus, if any, to offset that overage, or to allocate a tax stabilization reserves to help that department offset any deficit. So that would be the decision of council as a whole at year end during the budget closeout process.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Just unusual, never seen it before, so. Thank you, that's all I do. You go, you bet, Mr. Chair.
Was there anybody online for this one, Jessica, that wanted to participate? Okay, I have a motion here moved by Councillor Wolvette, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen. That the court confirms the assessment schedules on the McCall O'Donnell drain is contained in the engineer's report dated May 2nd, 2025. All in favor? Carried. Motion signed by Councillor Wolf, and by Mayor McEwen, that the quarter revision meeting for the McCall Donald Drain be adjourned. Favor? It's carried. You for the participants of those two drains. Our next drain is, we can begin right now, actually.
Do you want Councilor Rodriguez?
No, we'll ask Councilor Rodriguez.
Exempt property.
Yeah, so.
Mr. Mayor.
An assessment. Well, then. We all know,
Okay, let's go ahead and start our final drainage meeting. Thank you, Mr. Warner. Yeah, you're good to come in, sir. This final meeting is a consideration meeting for the Plan 28 and 486 drain. If there's any declaration of any interest or conflict of interest, now's time to declare that and excuse yourself. The purpose of this consideration meeting is to discuss the technical aspects of the drainage report dated May 21st, 2025 for the Plan 28 and 486 drain. If there are assessment concerns, like in the previous two meetings, they will be addressed at the quarter revision. Allow me to introduce our staff and council. I'm Joe Van Claveren, the chair, our mayor Gary Atkinson, just Mayor Betty McEwen, Councillor Bob Wolvette, Kristen Rodriguez and Alex Bojan, our CAO Adam Sabansky, drainage coordinators Ryan Tamming and Elizabeth Cummings, our drainage clerk Jessica Wilson, Director of Public Works Paul De Silva, and Treasurer Nora Roddick. Our engineer on this project is Mike Garretts of M. Garretts Consulting Incorporated. And Mr. Garretts, I'll turn the floor to you to provide an update on the engineer's report, please.
To the chair and to council. This report was prepared under section 4 of the Drainage Act, or as per the petition of the Road Authority. Currently, there are two known reports on the Plan 28 and 486 drain. Damon Heath prepared one in 1967, which included the two outlets for the drainage system, and in 1989, E.W. Graham of MIG included a report for the repairs to the existing groin in addition to gaving walls to reinforce the toe of the slopes at the outlets. That report included a plan, but it didn't include profile or details of the drainage works. And the assessments of these repairs were assessed out to the watershed. Additional work on this project in 1999, the town of Plympton-Wyoming prepared a section under section 74 of the Drainage Act. The repairs dealt with erosion and were assessed to the sanitary sewer system and not directly to the upstream landowners. Will Bartlett prepared a drain report and inspection report dated August 2010. The report included repairs of the gaving and stone and closed circuit CCTV television inspection of the drain and the installation of barriers to prevent wheeled vehicles from using the access points to access the beach. I prepared an inspection report dated May 2022, and the report noted that the town of Plympton-Wyoming completed groin repairs in the west outlet and that the east outlet was in the state of disrepair and imminent failure. We had an on-site meeting on February 9th, 2023. We had a second meeting on April 15th, 2025. And the existing conditions at the time of the investigation, as mentioned in 1984, or sorry, I didn't mention this. In 1984, the town of Plympton-Wyoming constructed storm sewers in curb and gutters in the Blue Point subdivision under a local improvement project. Storm sewers became municipal infrastructure, which used the Plan 28 and 486 drain corrugated steel outlet pipes to convey the flows to the lake. CCTV inspection was completed in March of 2023 of the drain and the downstream steel casings in the Blue Point subdivision storm sewers. The inspection documented the condition of the closed drain, steel casing, and storm sewers. The municipal drain sections at the outlet have lost the corrugated steel pipe have lost their wearing surface, which isn't uncommon for steel pipes of that age. And there's some staining of the joints, but there was no signs of imminent failure. The downstream steel casings out into the lake were, and the downstream steel casing east and west of the outlet pipes were generally in good condition and did not show signs of failure. There was one located at the west outlet where the CCTV captured a change in flow within the pipe, which is odd, but because of that, in the maintenance recommendations, we're looking at videoing this pipe, not annually, I think biannually, or every 5 years, just to keep a record of it to see if it gets any worse. Concrete storm sewer installed in 1984 has some longitudinal cracking, infiltration staining, areas of encrustation, areas of exposed rebar, and in one area there's construction materials that entered the drain. The CCTV inspection did not document any areas of collapse, nor did it provide a condition rating. However, concrete pipes have a service life between 70 and 100 years, and this sewer is 40 years old. So it's halfway through its service life. In 2022, the downstream groins were repaired on the west outlet. In 2023, the downstream groin was repaired on the east outlet. The design, there are no designs in this report. The design was done by MIG. We're simply incorporating the existing conditions, the design drawings and what's in place with respect to the groin. The groins are documented for the depths and size and how they were constructed. So if they need to be replaced in the future, they can be replaced to the same standard. It's recommended that a new drain report be prepared for the drainage works. We would incorporate the existing Blue Point Drive, Collingwood Street, Thomas Street, Harris Point Road storm sewers prepared by MIG, dated 1984 into the drain report. We'd incorporate the existing tile between the west end of Blue Point Drive and Collingwood Street that services the lands with landowner ID 76 and 77 and 109 into the Blue Point branch drain. So that drain is, probably you're familiar, there was some erosion at the lake on a property at the end of, I believe that's Collingwood Street, even though it doesn't line up directly with Collingwood, it kind of jogs. There was a catch basin there, and the landowner had put a private drain into the catch basin, which has always been there. And now we've just incorporated that piece along Blue Point Drive with the catch basin so that it's town use, it gets part of the drain and can be maintained by the town. We're not maintaining the private drain that runs through the private yards, but simply providing an outlet for them. We'd incorporate the east outlet groin, and I have a 20.5 meter minimum length and a 400 diameter steel casing into the report. Incorporate the west groin, which is a bit longer, 32 meters minimum length and a 400 millimeter diameter steel casing into the report. We provide allowances under section 31 of the Drainage Act for the works previously constructed on the groins based on the value of the recent repairs. We would repair any service laterals which the CCTV inspection revealed had more than 50% obstruction, providing future maintenance specifications for the drain, prepare schedules of maintenance for the drain, and then the town is to complete a CCTV video on the outlet pipes on a biannual basis to document the condition of the CSP and casings. It's not meant to be urgent like that. It's when the town has a CCTV provider in the area and they're working every couple of years, they can go down there. It's not a big a deal because there's catch basins at the road that they can access. They've done it twice. And certainly it wasn't a big ordeal to get down there, even though it is a casing. They just slide down it and come back and they just take a condition of the pipe to make sure nothing's got worse. It's an older pipe. And we just don't want it to blow out and cause problems at the bank. So that's why we're recommending a biannual inspection. The estimated cost prepared for this report is $199,982, which includes engineering fees and doesn't include anything beyond the preparation of this report. We ended up cleaning out the obstructed service laterals. The assessment, the cost to prepare the report with the section 31 allowances has been assessed with 100% as an outlet assessment to upstream properties based on equivalent hectares. The cost to maintain laterals using trenchless technologies has been assessed with 50% of the cost to the benefiting landowner and 50% of the cost to the road authority. For the landowners here, they have 3 schedules in the report. So there's the benefit assessment. And then it's a standard benefit would be $425 on the drain. But if you have a service lateral that's getting cleaned, obviously it's going to be more money because you're paying 50% of the cleaning. After the last meeting, I was requested to look at the laterals that service properties. So I went back and I looked at the MIG drawings to find out who was not serviced with the lateral. And then I went through the CCTV inspection videos to make sure that there was no lateral installed. One property did have a lateral put in. So they weren't taken out of it, but those properties have a reduced benefit assessment, as well as a landowner at the west outlet had a review of his land to make sure that we are properly assessing the outlet value for the surface water that goes towards the lake. The town, Plympton-Wyoming, has a bigger assessment. That's because they have their parkland. The parkland has the ability for 4 connections. It's quite big. So they're 4 times, it's simply 4 times the 425. I also found equivalent residential lots for the roads. They could pay their portion of the roads, which is reflected in the town's assessment, which is why it's quite high. Allowances, so we did provide an allowance for the 2022 works, which was $77,000 on the groin, and a 2023, which was $71,250. Maintenance is included in the report, and construction specifications are in the report, and I'm available to answer any questions from council or landowners.
Thank you, Mr. Gertz. That's a 34-page report. There's a lot of information there.
Yeah.
So good job on that. Is there any questions in council chambers here on the floor? Any questions for the
I
engineer?
have some questions.
Yes, sir.
So,
Please.
Mike McCall,
Hi, Mike.
I live on lot 8 there.
Excellent.
So I was working in a town last time you guys had a meeting. So am I to understand that there's gonna be on top of my property tax, I'm gonna get a bill for, did you say 429?
Do you know what number you're on the report? Was it number 8?
8.
Okay. So in the first schedule, there's a scheduled assessment, and in there, you look at schedule assess. Yeah, it's not, it might not be, it's done by roll number, so it might not be chronological for, but you can go down here. Yeah, so you have an assessment of $874, and that assessment is because you have an outlet, a benefit for your yard to tie into the storm sewer in front of the house, and then you're responsible for your portion of the outlet pipe going to the lake that we did the repairs on for that line. And that, so the breakdown there is 425 for the benefit and 449 for once your water leaves your property and goes out to the lake.
Oh,
874. And then you wouldn't typically on a closed drain, you wouldn't see, I shouldn't say you'll never see, obviously you could see maintenance, but it is a closed drain. But if something fails, then it goes back into the maintenance schedules, which are based on a benefit, I believe, of $165, and the same rationale for outlet. It's a bit less, but on the storm sewers, I mean, the storm sewers are in pretty good shape. The outlet, like I say, it's been videoed twice now. It seems to be holding up fine. The water doesn't stay in the pipe, it rockets down, so it's lost its wearing surface, but I don't know what size CSP they put in for wall thickness, but it seems to be okay.
yeah. So I think I've lived in my house since 2019. And I've seen my road flood straight across onto my front yard like 3 times now.
Yeah, I know.
So.
Yeah.
Is this like a plan to actually do this work?
No, because everything's there, so it's not gonna, like, any improvements that you would have seen in your service would have come when we flushed the pipe, and that was done, I believe, did I say in 22 or 2023? So we cleaned all the pipe out, so that would have improved the flows then, but you're still stuck in a situation where, from the last meeting, it's obvious that there's some concerns going on with the development behind you, dumping water on, and after that, I didn't really get what people were talking about at that meeting. Because I guess I was focused on, I was just looking at a different route, or I guess I was just focused on a different way of what you were talking about. I didn't realize until I received some pictures about the surface water, and then I think I understand that people were more concerned that, like, we can't do anything about the development behind. I can't force them through the Drainage Act, but their water is going on your land, and they weren't assessed enough, and I think people there, must have understood that, and I didn't get it relayed that way. I just didn't understand that they were more about, like, people were more upset because they're not even getting assessed, right? Their water's going there until they develop, and I brought them into the Collin Drive watershed because they should be developed. But since that meeting, I went out and I did some cross sections, and I brought them in. They're assessed pretty heavily on this drain, and one day when they are done developing, they'll have to request to be brought out of it. So it's not going to save your water, but what it does do is give the development, they're paying for their water that they put there. And you can see from the watershed map there how much is in it. It basically, the little jet that goes in is their clubhouse. I just ran some sections across. I looked at swoop imagery. Is it going to improve the floods in front of your house? No. The storm sewers can only handle the flow that they were designed for, which is typically a 2-year storm. And if you're getting a lot and there's not the grading behind you that should be grading it differently, it's dumping on you until that's all taken care of.
So what size pipe is in there now?
In the road, I don't have the MIG drawings in front of me, but it's a regular storm sewer. It's a concrete storm sewer, so it's probably a 300 or 400 millimeter diameter concrete storm sewer.
Be like 6 inch,
No, it'd be 12 inch, I believe.
12 inch, okay.
Yeah, maybe a bit bigger.
Well, it just seems odd that the road's flooding over.
Yeah, well, when
I know my
the-
neighbors had issues with water
Yeah.
in his basement, so.
Yeah, there are connections for people to tie in. But the sewer can only take as much as it can take, and we've had some pretty big storms over the years, and especially if you remember one year, we were getting storms after the ground was saturated.
Yeah, it was
So it
like,
wasn't getting a chance to even dry up and recharge some of the storm it was back to back. And you can't, like, that's just part of living in the area and any area. If you get major storms, especially in the spring and the soil is saturated, like, it's not gonna take anything.
oh, I know. So how are these amounts of money getting billed to us? Are we just getting a bill in the mail or?
Yeah, so after this report's done, there's a quarter revision, and at the quarter revision, you have the right to appeal your assessment. If you say, you know, I don't think I was assessed fairly for my $800, and you have to have a rationale to it. Like why you think you weren't, and it's just simple as coming up and saying that. But if we don't have any appeals, it would go through. I think the town of Plympton-Wyoming might have been already cleaning services if they're out there. I don't know if they did them preemptively. Not yet. So eventually you're gonna see a sewer truck there and they're gonna clean services. And once that's all done, that's gonna probably be better to respond, but typically it's almost 2 years before you'll see a bill. This is not ag grant, so maybe it will be quicker. I'm not sure how it rolls through. I don't do the assessments, but it's not gonna show up, you know, tomorrow. It takes time to work through the system.
Yeah, I just actually cause I was out of town working and my wife just threw the paperwork on my desk, so I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah, so
2 weeks ago, so.
my number is right on the top of the letterhead, so like when you get home and if you have other questions you think of.
Yeah.
Especially about assessments, I'll come out and see you or I'll do it over the phone. I only live like 10 minutes from the lake. Or maybe I'm not sure, but it's not very far.
Yeah.
So I can come out, and more importantly, like the assessments, no one wants an assessment on this drain. Everyone's had a storm sewer there because it was done through, I don't know if that was a local improvement back then, but it's been servicing them and everyone's had that there. Now this is a change and now you're paying for it. So I guess the problem with this is that people just have to look at their assessment and say, have they been fairly assessed in relation to the project and in relation to other people? I mean, it's always,
a property assessment.
no, this is just drain assessment. So in that schedule of assessment where your $800 is, like if you don't like that, you can call me, obviously call me. And I can try to explain it better in person. But in the end, everyone's got this. You have to almost look at it as whether you haven't been fairly assessed. More in relation to the other people in your area. Some people will always fight an assessment. They wouldn't want an assessment no matter what. So, and you're entitled to do that under the Drainage Act. But there is a drain going in and there are laws in Ontario that are for surface water, specifically the Drainage Act is what we're working under. And that says if you have a benefit, you're gonna be assessed the benefit. And once your water gets into that system, or if you don't directly connect to it and you flow across someone else's lawn to get into it, then you're gonna get an outlet assessment.
So I can add to that because I think your first question is this above and beyond my taxes? And the answer to that is yes. So in Plympton-Wyoming, we've been working towards using the Drainage Act as a user pay system for drainage in the area. A lot of municipalities are putting just bills on your taxes where you'll actually pay a drainage surcharge or just lump it into your property taxes. We don't do that here. The only thing that your property taxes pays for when it comes to drainage is the roads drainage, because that's public infrastructure. Drainage for properties is a user pay system. We use the Drainage Act because we feel it's the most fair. Farmers pay into it, residents pay into it, and it gives you more of a voice. If we were just to put it on your taxes, it could be part of the budget. As we use the Drainage Act, you get an opportunity today to tell us if you like the design or not. This is a bit different because it's existing. Next meeting, you get a chance to tell us if you feel that the assessment's inappropriate, and if you could prove that your assessment's inappropriate, you actually can have it adjusted. We wouldn't have that opportunity if we just put it on taxes. So because we're a mixed rural urban community, we feel the Drainage Act's most fair, the people of a higher voice, And it gives you ownership over that drainage because you are technically part of the owners along with us for it. So yes, it's above your taxes, but the portion you're paying is not already accounted for someone else in your taxes. You're not being double charged for the work.
We're gonna have to pay this amount every year. This once.
It's-
I'd like to take that question.
It's just a one-time fee, depending on it's just a one-time fee at the end of the project. At the end of the project, depending on the value of your assessment, you can apply for a debenture. I think we do 3-year debentures currently, so you can spread that value over a 3-year period with interest. So there is financing options for that, but you only get charged if we do work in the area. Unlike taxes, which you will be paying every year, you will only get charged after this if we're doing maintenance in the area, which is either requested by the road authority or yourselves as property owners, or if we have to do a reconstruction, which again would only be done if the road authority requires it to be done, or the property owners request it to be done. But this is much more driven by the community than if it was just a storm sewer under the property taxes.
I think we're lot 48 or something. And behind us is that subdivision that floods. Are they not responsible for, like, they're causing the buildup and all that, they've got a pond already there. Why isn't that in service? Why don't they take that?
Sure, Mr. Goetz did speak to that, but if you could cover that again.
Yeah, so, yeah, they do have a pond.
Yeah.
The problem is like, so that whole grading is done through their grading plan.
Right.
And like I said, like when they're done, they're gonna actually get taken out of this. But right now, it floods across that grass field behind your house. And maybe not right away because it's gotta go up to that pond. If you look at that catch basin. I mean, it's centimeters over, like from holding the water back. And then when it does surcharge, it's gonna go across the lawn and eventually it might go in the little channels there to the stormwater management pond and the corner there, but a lot of it doesn't. A lot of it's gonna go straight into your backyard. Those 3 or 4 backyards right along that whole back piece.
We have heavy mosquitoes and all that stuff.
Yeah, but the Drainage Act works now, like the drain, what I have to do is I have to look at how it drains. And I need to assess accordingly for the drainage. So I look at the people that are abutting it and I also looked at that Allen Developments. And then I adjusted their assessments. So they're paying, at least they're paying their value of the water. I think their assessment is quite heavy because of the area. You can picture this watershed isn't big. And if everyone was taking their $425 for their little sliver, Allen Developments has a big chunk of land in there. So they have to pay for that. That's just the way it is. I realize that doesn't give you any relief from your water, other than hopefully maybe they'll finish it sooner than later, or at least get their stormwater management done. But nothing in that stormwater management really works well. The road does, like they've got catch basins. But even the lots, they haven't finished anything, right?
Right.
And until it's finished, it's gonna keep flowing the way it historically has flown. But worse because that's put that if it was before, there'd still be more undulations in the land, it would slow it down, but.
That kind of answer your question, sir. It doesn't make you happy, but it.
No, well, I mean, if I was building a house and my and I wasn't finished the house and the water was still going over the neighbors, I think the township would tell me to fix it. So I feel the same way with the Allen Development. They should address it somehow.
It's the same as if you build an outbuilding, like I built a shop 5-6 years ago, was I was made to put a catch basin in and tie into that. I don't understand how they're not. That they're just allowed, it's like a road to nowhere. It just seems to keep going and going and going. And unfortunately, I've tied into it. It was the best money I ever spent, but other people, they're penalized because of that.
Anybody like to comment on that?
There's a gray area when it comes to lands as they sit versus lands as they're developed. Once they're development, they're forced, whether they like or not, to maintain their own drainage. Agricultural lands, as they sit, are not necessarily forced to upgrade the development. That being said, under common law, you as property owners do not have to accept their water. So if you were to berm your property to prevent their water from entering onto your property, there is nothing legally they could do to stop you from doing that. The current drainage situation on the undeveloped lands is a challenge because it falls under common law, because it's an existing condition. There is an application out on it, but they haven't gone forward with those portions of those lands. That's why Mike has chosen to incorporate them into this drain, which lessens the cost of the drain for yourselves, but it also kind of gives them continued permission to do what they're doing. So it's a,
How long does that continued permission go on?
again, as soon as they start development on each phase, that water that they redevelop has to go towards their stormwater management system. But if it's just farmland that hasn't changed and is not being developed, there's not a real mechanism to force them to regrade the farmland itself. That mechanism comes when they start constructing.
Any other questions? Yes, sir, in the back.
So, yeah, at the last meeting, we had a package that I brought here. And I was assessed for $900 and some odd dollars.
Yeah.
And
What's your
then,
land, what number?
94
90.
Collingwood.
Yeah.
Well, that's somewhere around 900 and something. And, this package, so I'm assessed 896. And then there's another part where I'm assessed another 235.
Yeah, are you talking about the schedule of maintenance? So like the schedule of assessment is your assessment for this report. In the future, when they maintain the drain, it moves into the schedules of maintenance. So you're probably assessed on 2 or 3 properties in this drain report, your number will show up. But the way the schedule of maintenance works is if you're assessed that dollar value, they take your assessment of your divided by the total assessment or that section and multiply it by what they actually do. So for every $100,000, you take your assessment divided by the bottom times $100,000 and you'd get it. And it probably wouldn't be that big, I don't think. Because there's a lot of people on the drain. But you will show up multiple times in the report, but your assessment for this report is only on the schedule of assessment, page 1.
So the 896.
Yeah, 90, you said 94?
Yeah.
94, yeah, so 94, yeah, that's right.
So the 235 is what?
That would be, what page are you looking at on that?
Schedule of maintenance, page 2 of 2.
1? Schedule maintenance 1 or be at top?
Schedule of maintenance, section 6.
Okay, yeah. So section 6.
That's 235.
Yeah, so section 6, the way you would look at that is that's 235. So if they go out and they do $1,000 worth of work, you take $235 divided by 18,300 times the value of the work, and that's what your assessment would be. But it doesn't come up unless they do it, and you don't pay. So let's say they're working upstream of you. Well, you're pretty far up, so you're almost at the top end of that leg.
Right.
But yeah, if they're working downstream, you're gonna pay. If they were working for landowners who are not at the top end, you don't pay for the water upstream. You only pay for where your water goes downstream when you maintain it. They use these schedules and they prorate, and if they're halfway down, they have to figure out who's in the schedule. They take it out and then they prorate it all through that way. But you're unfortunately right, you're like 3 or 4 lots from the top of the drain. So.
And then there's another schedule 7. Schedule of maintenance, section 7, sorry.
Yeah.
And another $50.
Yeah, so that schedule's specifically for the outlet. So if they work on that outlet, that's what you'll be assessed, your dollar value divided by the total times the outlet. Now, the groin, I realize the groin, the pipe is older, but it's a steel casing. And they put the groin in this year, and I mean, you've seen it, right? You've obviously, people all go down there. The groins they did a good job on the groins, so I think they're gonna be there for a while. The old ones, if you remember, like they weren't protecting that thing at all. That's our concern, is that the ice is gonna bust it off, and then, yeah, we're gonna be in there fixing it, and it's gonna be expensive when it's blowing out everywhere. So we try to keep the cost down. That's why we're not replacing the pipe and a video inspection. If we can keep the pipe going down the slope as long as we can, and it's not failing, then that's great. But because one day when you do go down the slope, it is a big job, right? Of course, the casing is fine. There's a section of corrugated steel that ties into it.
Any other questions on the floor?
I should just clarify one thing if I can. Like this assessment, when you're looking at your $800, that is remember, it is for incorporating the work at that groin, right? For your water to go down. You have to remember, it's not just this report. They did the work already, so you're not gonna see it. Other than the videoing and or maintaining of the services, but everyone's water's utilizing that groin at the outlet, and that's there's a 70,000 plus $1,000 expenses on the drain. And the town, if you look at the town's assessment, they're picking up a significant amount, because they have a significant benefit from this as well, right?
Any questions on council? Yes, please.
I mean, I know in previous meetings outside of this, there's been lots of asks about the drainage problem on Allen Development. As Mr. Sabansky stated, it's kind of a gray area, but clearly now, I mean, it's been confirmed that these lands are causing a lot of drainage problems because of the way they're sitting. And I don't know if I guess it would be nice to find a solution for these existing lands. We can't just say, oh, well, is because it's sitting in a gray area and allow them to continuously suffer and have the property damages that they do from it. And then telling them they have to put a berm up when they're not the offenders to protect their lands. I don't think that's a positive solution. And as far as, because there is quite a bit of insect problems through there. Would that go through public health? So if the folks were to contact public health, they would deal with the standing water issue. They are the ones that would be able to enforce that problem.
If I may answer any questions. Yes, please, Chair. So if it is council's preference that the drainage concerns from Allen Developments be addressed before this report is considered, I would suggest that you refer it back to the engineer and that you have bylaw enforcement study to what ability, if any, the town has to force Allen Developments to redirect their drainage away from this specific drain. It may be that you may not have the legal authority to force that in its current conditions, and then that this might be the better plan. But if there is a way through our bylaws and we are legally able to force them to redirect their surface water, that could be an alternative. But without talking to bylaw enforcement and possibly discussing it with legal counsel, we could not be clear on that tonight.
And I appreciate that. I think they're two different issues though. This is clearly just drain repairs and who's responsible for paying them. It's not solving the bigger problem of the way the land is sitting. Because nothing, as far as if I heard you correctly, is going to solve that problem through this process. It's more of an undeveloped development problem.
Correct, but I think tonight we're here to look at a report which is incorporating an existing drainage system, which also identifies the drainage area of that drainage system. So to finalize that report with the drainage as it allows, and then to go to push them out, could be a challenge, because then you're taking away from the report that already has given them the ability to drain into it. So you have to figure out one before the other. There would be a challenge to force them out after you've already passed this report that clearly shows that they are currently draining into those lands and therefore should pay to help offset the cost of this report.
Sure.
Is this clear that the Allen Development is draining into what we're talking about tonight? Because on the last meeting, it said that the Allen Development is not associated with that, it's going to the Cullen part of it.
Just go ahead through the chair. I can clarify that. So phase one, the registered plan of condo that they have there, we did confirm goes to Cullen. I think what the CAO was referring to with those existing lands, the lands that are farmed and some of that bush, it goes north onto Blue Point Drive, and that's why it's being assessed for outlet. We did confirm that Boardwalk Ave and all of the associated stormwater infrastructure with that development does go to Cullen and does go south. Or sorry, goes to Thomas Street and does go south to the Cullen.
That's
Drive.
what they said last time.
Yes, we did confirm that.
Great. Did anyone else on council need to weigh in on what was discussed with Councilor Rodriguez and our Adam's reply to that?
And that's $12,000. I'm doing the rough math. That would have to get applied somewhere else if we.
So you're suggesting that we send it back to the engineer? Is that what
I mean, well, no, like. If we took them out, that's $12,000 and now have to reallocate back to the property owners if we take them out of it, if I'm understanding it correctly. My percent, like, at least we're getting something out of them, but a totally separate conversation that council has every year. I'm looking forward, we'll have to do it again when this development comes to us and asks for extensions. So perhaps we can look at something then.
Do we as landowners get the opportunity to come to that when they get their extensions, or is it a closed door meeting?
It's public and I would love it if you guys could come.
I don't think I've ever seen anything in that, but I'll keep my eye out.
I don't think there's a statutory letter that goes out, but it is a public meeting.
I think if I may, Mr. Chair, through you, it'll be in our agendas. And the agenda is published, so you have the opportunity to see where it is.
Rodriguez?
I believe that happens in January every year, somewhere in January or early February. They ask for the, so it would be in that time.
Did you have a thought on that, Councilor Wolfett?
We thought I would have been dealing with this Allen Developments for many years. I think the whole time I've been on council, which is coming up 16 years. And they have a development there and should be responsible for getting their act together on their water, regardless whether it's where they've got the lots or the open fields. It is a development. So I, you know, other than this, what we're talking about tonight, I think we need to get on with it. But as far as Allen Development goes, I think aside from this, somebody should be dealing with them saying, you get your drainage in order within your own site. That's what I'm thinking.
Mayor? I think what I'm hearing is that we'd like to proceed with this project. And subsequent to that, that we revisit the drainage issue with development. So is there any other comments or thoughts? We had somebody online for this one. Would they like to engage, or are they observing? Good. Good. Yes, sir.
Just one comment, I think it was pushed out there where, you know, property owners can, you know, put their own berm up. But if you're doing that, all you're really doing is pushing the problem to your next door neighbor or on one side or the other. I think the solution would be, if you're gonna put a berm up, put a berm right across. That, you know, so that all the property owners have a benefit from it.
Are you suggesting that development actually create the berm?
Yeah, I mean, it's their water. So maybe they should be the ones putting the berm up, right?
Back to how much power we have to do that, but yes, sir.
I think that if you were to talk to them, I think they could solve that solution themselves. It can't be that difficult to have that drain off to a pond that they already have. I don't think it's working myself, that pond's working that well.
Sorry, yeah, I should have said they also have their inlets covered with filter fabric.
Yeah.
And mud.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there are overflow pipes. You walked out there and then they go through the 4-inch overflow pipe and into the.
It's only 4 inch.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why if in theory, you shouldn't get it on your property because it should go in the system, but it can't handle it, right? So it builds up, it stores that initial flush, but then you get the second rain and then it starts to build up more. And by the third amount, it's over the top and heading for your place.
That's something that Public Works can definitely discuss with Allen Developments. If they're not maintaining their infrastructure and that's the source of that overland water. That is something that we can address.
Okay, very good discussion. Thanks for everybody's input there, for sure. I have a motion here that has been
Next
moved.
question.
Yes, please.
So will this be discussed before they ask for another extension, or are we waiting for that first?
You like?
Through the chair, we can certainly do our homework on what the municipality can enforce in this situation before they come back for another extension. I can tell you that we haven't had a whole lot of luck contacting this particular developer.
Was it?
Yes, that's good. You're satisfied?
Yes.
Okay. This motion has been moved by Councillor Wolvette and seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that the report by Mike Garrett's engineer of M. Garrett's Consulting Incorporated dated May 21st, 2025 regarding Plan 28 and 486 drain be adopted as presented, and that provisional bylaw 61 of 2025 be taken as having been read a first and second time, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All in favor? It's carried. The motion by Councillor Wolvette and seconded by Mayor McEwen that the consideration meeting for Plan 28 or 86 drain be adjourned. All in favor? That's carried. Mr. Mayor, that concludes the drainage meetings. I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you. Council, do you need a personal break for 5 minutes before we
Probably wouldn't hurt.
okay. Take a 5 minute break, and council, I ask you to be back here at 5 after 7, and we'll proceed to go count camera then. So folks, Okay, I have a motion by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that council move into an in-camera meeting of council pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, amended for the following reasons. Item A, litigation matters, section 239, bracket 2, bracket E. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or the local board. Item B, third-party confidential information. Section 239, bracket 2, bracket I, information that has been supplied in confidence by a third party. And item C, proposed land acquisition or disposition matters. 239, bracket 2, bracket C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or a local board. Council, all those in favor? It's carried.
Sir.